At daybreak, on the morning of July 7, 1863, Federal forces conducted a raid on the small village of Gladeville, located where the town of Wise, Virginia now stands. While waiting for the daybreak, our chaplain spoke to us and offered prayer, expecting some of us might be killed, wrote P.M. Redding of the McLaughlin squadron that conducted the raid. This naturally made us think of Ohio and our friends at home. Finally, dawn came, and with it the orders to charge. And charge we did, right into the village and the Confederate camp, capturing everything in sight. During the early morning raid, the Union forces took the Confederates by surprise, capturing 123 soldiers, including about 20 officers, who had just the night before attended a ball. The celebrations had lasted into the early hours of the morning, and many of the officers were rounded up at the homes of the people of the village where they had stayed through the night. Most were still sleeping. During the brief skirmish at the Confederate camp, the Union forces suffered only minor injuries to 11 men. The Confederate losses were not recorded. As the Federals raided their camp, some of the Confederate soldiers escaped and barricaded themselves in the courthouse, but quickly surrendered when the Union forces threatened to burn the building. However, the courthouse did not survive the Civil War. Between August 23rd and October 25th of 1864, Colonel Dills commanded Union soldiers who, in a series of minor engagements, invaded the village. At the time, there were but a few members of the militia and home guard to stand against the Federal forces. The Northern soldiers who occupied the village of Gladeville burned the homes of several of the residents and the courthouse. However, one Union soldier, John Gillum, who was also a resident of the community, helped to save the records from the burning courthouse. His own deed was stored there. The residents of Gladeville and the surrounding communities were sharply divided in their loyalties. John Gillum's own son, William, was a member of the Confederate Captain Salyer's company of Yankee catchers. This was not at all uncommon for the area. W.J. McLemore of Wise, Virginia, told of the time his grandfather came home on a 10-day furlough from the Union Army, and a few days into his leave, his son, McLemore's father, came home from the Southern Army wearing the gray. The men put their swords and rifles in opposite corners of the living room for the time they were home together. They visited and hunted during their furlough, and then, when it was time to go back to the fight, each returned to their respective sides. Although there were no major battles fought in this tiny community, the impact of the Civil War on the residents was significant and illustrates one of the overlooked tragedies of the Civil War. That while losses and suffering imposed by war on a single village might not seem large compared to the battlefield losses in the major engagements of the war, the sum of suffering spread among the many small towns and villages throughout the regions of conflict is staggering, and that no matter how hard we might try, civilians will always bear the miseries of war.